When we looked at oligopoly, we looked at your competition versus collusive model. And so we've done with the king demand curve, and we're done with the game theory, right? And today what we'll do is we'll do collusive model, which is number one. Collusive model is going to be Cartel. And number two, what we'll do is something called price leadership. Okay. Now, guys, Cartel is a model which is what we call a formal leadership. Okay. While price leadership is what we call a tacit leadership. Tacit means unsaid, unwritten, you know, like mm, it's not a formal one where they came together and decided to do this, but this is basically more like unsaid, unwritten kind of a thing, which is basically going to be we'll soon see, which is going to be different when it comes to the formal one. By the way, collusion of any form is of course illegal. You need to remember that. So one thing to remember is that collusion of any sort is illegal. Okay. And if the government finds this out, you can be fined because you are trying to basically manipulate the market. So when you look at basically the first one, the formal collusion, let's read some of these lines. That when firms under oligopoly engage in collusion, they may agree on, for example, prices, commonly seen prices, market share, advertising, and so on. Such collusions reduce the uncertainty they face. It also reduces the fear of engaging in competitive price cutting or retaliatory advertising. So sometimes, you want to sort of make sure that you want to lower this expenditure on marketing. Like Coke and Pepsi could say, okay, rather than spending so much money on marketing, how about we collude and spend less? Or they may collude and set the price to be higher, or they may collude and do anything that can reduce the uncertainty. Like every Ramzan, if they lower price, they could also every Ramzan increase price, or make the price to remain unchanged so that nobody loses out. So it's the idea of a cartel is basically firms come together and they become one single firm and they act like a monopoly, and they try to then maximize profit according to MC equals to MR. Okay, so they try to do MC equals to MR kind of a maximization of profit. And then once they find out the quantity, let's say they figure out, let's say the quantity is 1000, let's say we'll talk about this in 1 minute. Then they divide that among the firms by giving each firm what we call a quota. Okay, so your goal is to act like a monopoly. All the firms in the oligopoly act like a monopoly. They come together, they become one single firm in a way. They find out where the whole group or the cartel is maximizing profits, and then figure out the quantity and price where they maximize their profit, and then give each other a production quota. So I want to show you this in terms of that. So what are you trying to do, guys? You're trying to reduce the uncertainty that is found in the market. Okay. Any question before we move on? I want to draw this diagram in 1 minute, but any question before we move on? If there's no questions, so let's move on. Then let's say, guys, there are five firms in the market, and these five firms are now forming a cartel. Okay. So when they form a cartel, is there any question, guys? You guys are super silent, so I don't know. If you have any questions, please ask me. Okay, great. Okay, so this is my industry. And this is my firm. Okay, so let's say the industry, all the firms come together, and this is the market demand. Okay, so they all come together. This is the market demand. So this is my industry demand, and let's say this is my industry MR. Okay, and when they come together, they figure out the marginal cost of production. Okay, and then they say, okay, the combined marginal cost is equal to MR is happening at 1000 units, and this 1000 units is to be divided into many firms. Let's say we have 5 firms, so it gets divided into 5 firms, but the price is that is going to be charged is $10. So the whole market has come together, and they have now formed a monopoly, and now they are acting like a cartel. So Haris, we're doing a case of formal collusion, okay, where there is what we call a cartel. Okay, and I'm saying that there are 5 firms, they've all formed a cartel. Now they become one single firm. The whole industry's demand is equal, is combined together, and they look at what is the marginal cost of all these 5 firms, and it turned out that MC equals to MR is happening at this point. So the industry will make 1000 units, and industry will be charging $10. And each firm, 1000 divided by 5, each firm is given a quota of 200 units. And what's the price that is being charged? The price that is being charged is $10. So at this $10 price, I'm going to take this $10 all over here. This is where the firm is going to be basically producing. So this is firm's demand and MR, for example. And the firm is being told कि आपको ये वाली price charge करनी है. This is the price that you need to charge. Okay. Okay, and let's say they're making 200 units. This is my MR, and this is demand. Now, I'm going to assume if the firm is happy, the firm's marginal cost must be here. If the firm is happy, then the firm's marginal cost equals to MR is happening here, then the firm will be very happy. Let's call it MC1. Okay, MC1 will be where the firm marginal cost is, where a firm is also maximizing profit at price 10. But guys, my question to you guys is, what if I tell you firm's real marginal cost is actually MC2? Are you all with me? So firm marginal cost is not MC1, but it's MC2. So firm's marginal cost is actually more lower. Now, is it in the interest of the firm to charge price 10, guys? If the firm's marginal cost is lower and not where MC equals to MR is happening at 10, but here, and the answer is, should the firm still be charging $10, or should the firm find its own MC equals to MR, which is happening here? Let's call this point A and this point as B, which means they should make 400 units and charge, for example, $8. So if they charge at point MC equals to MR, which is at MC2, their revenue will be 400 times 8 or 3200. Okay, but if they follow the cartel, guys, their MC equals to MR will be happening at MC1, which is not their cost, by the way, which is what I'm telling you guys. That would make it 410 times 200 or $2,000. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is this, that you can clearly see this firm might have an incentive to cheat. वो आपसे वादा करेगी कि मैं $10, I'm going to charge $10 and I'm going to make 200 units. But when they go back home, they do their math and they realize their profit maximization is happening at 400. So they have an incentive to cheat. Unless each firm's marginal cost is also where price is equal to 10, one would argue this, that any efficient firm may end up basically cheating in this case. Do you guys get that? Does that make sense? Are we good? So one thing which we need to know is that whenever there's a cartel taking place, you will see a lot of times cartels may not sort of last longer or may not succeed to begin with. And cartels, in order for cartels to succeed, There's some important conditions that need to be necessary, which I'm going to talk about in 1 minute. But do we get this diagram, guys? Are we good about this diagram? That if the firm's marginal cost is lower than where the profit maximization for the group is happening, there is an incentive for the firm to cheat, and it may end up making more revenue, as you can see, and therefore more profit also, because that's profit maximization is happening at B. Are we good? Make sense? Any questions, guys? In collusion, firms are not allowed, but who could stop them? You know, the question we need to ask, who could stop them? What are the factors that can stop them? Let's talk about those factors. Um, Firms basically are not allowed, but they can. Nobody can stop them. In other words, cartel is illegal to begin with, right? No, I'm saying MC1 is basically, if MC1 is the firm's marginal cost Harris, then profit maximization is happening at the price जो ये cartel ने बोला सबको $10 charge करना है, right? So this is exactly what the firm will charge if the firm's marginal cost is also MC1. But if firm's marginal cost is lower, like MC2, then the firm might have a reason to cheat. That's what we're saying. Okay. So, guys, what are the factors that make a cartel successful, or what are the factors that can make a cartel fail? In this case, you can see that if the cost is different, a cartel can fail. Isn't that true? If firm's cost is different, they have an incentive to cheat. Make sense? Are we good? Okay. Let's look at the conditions that are necessary for cartel to succeed. The first one is basically it will be easier for firms to collude. It'll be easier for firms to collude if, number one, there are only few firms all well known to each other, right? If there are only few firms, you can see cheating will not happen. But if there are many firms, then you will agree with me, cheating will happen. Because collusion cannot be possible in 10 or 20 firms, but it will be possible in 2 or 3 firms. And if they're well known to each other, then they would trust each other, and that will result in the cartel to succeed really, really well. Make sense? So the first condition is only few firms well known to each other. The second condition, guys, is this that the firms should not be secretive about their cost and production method. Because if they are secretive about their cost and production method, very likely they will be cheating, because then they will be uh, basically having a different cost structure. Like in this diagram of ours, if the cost structure was identical, the cartel will succeed. But if you're secretive about it, then most likely you will be cheating yeah, the cartel as well. Third, guys, look at this, that they also need to have similar production method, which means same cost, so that when you're charging the same price, you have the same margin. If firms have a different cost structure, then they're more likely to cheat. The more identical they are to each other in terms of production and cost, the more likely the cartel will succeed. If Coke and Pepsi have the same kind of margins, that's why they may be charging same kind of prices. Make sense? Similarly, they produce similar products and can easily reach agreements on price. So, for example, Coke and Pepsi can easily reach an agreement. But can Coke and Nestle come to an agreement? And the answer is Nestle Juice can come to an agreement, and the answer is probably not. Why? Because they are kind of different products, different kind of cost structure, different market, and so on and so forth, right? So similar products are more likely to have a successful cartel. Like all A-level schools can have a successful cartel, but A-levels and O-level schools may not have a successful cartel, because they are different markets as well. Next is there has to be one dominant firm. Can somebody tell me why dominant firm matters? Anyone who can tell me why dominant firm matter? What's the advantage of a dominant firm in a market? No. Anyone else? Why do you need a dominant firm? You need a dominant firm, guys, Exactly. To lead the cartel, you need a dominant firm because if you don't have a dominant firm, nobody is going to be afraid of anyone else. Why do you fear a dominant firm? You do fear a dominant firm because you know this, a dominant firm can do price war. It can basically come after you if you don't follow the leader can come after you. If you cheat the leader by lowering price, he can lower the price so low or it can lower the price so low that you may not be able to exist in the market. So price war is very realistic to happen whenever there is cheating in the cartel, because firms then react. And you've seen this in the past where sometimes oil prices have gone down when one country decides to like lower the price and take a revenge from other countries. Make sense? So if there is one dominant firm in the market, the price war is very likely to happen. Are we good? Next up is, guys, there has to be also significant barriers to entry, because if you don't have significant barriers to entry, what's the big problem that will happen? Your cartel will break because a new firm can enter. When you have significant barriers to entry, the cartel can succeed for longer because no outside competition can break the power of the firm. Make sense? Next up, guys, you also need the market to be stable. If the market is stable, then basically cartel will be successful. And the reason is very simple, because if the market is stable, then you don't need to care about any fluctuation or any uncertainty. But if the market is unstable, the first thing you want to do is protect yourself. So in an unstable setting, let me write this, guys. In an unstable market, the firm may look at or may protect self interest rather than your cartel or group's interest. Yeah. So you'll see cartel to succeed in stable times, but not succeed in unstable times. And lastly, guys, what if there is a strong government intervention, or what if there's strong government control? If there's strong government control, you will see collusion to not happen, because government can fine you, can put you to jail or punish you and all that. But if there is no government measures, then you might see collusion may succeed. Government can find out about a collusion and can fine you and can like jail people as well. But when there are no government measure to curb collusion, then you might see the cartel to succeed longer. Are we good? Does that make sense, guys? But we need to know this, guys. Cartels are illegal and can be seen by government as unfair, because they drive up prices and profits. So one thing we need to understand is that cartel by very nature is not legal but illegal. And also another point that we need to understand is this, that if the government finds out about this, um, the firms can be fined heavily on that regard. Sometimes, therefore, guys, what firms do is what we call tacit collusion. Tacit is basically, again, we talked about this, it's the unsaid, unwritten kind of a collusion, where the firms are basically colluding without even meeting each other. For example, in Ramzan, if Pepsi lowers the price by $5, Coke might do the same without them talking to each other. Or two firms in a market can kind of collude and say, okay, let's not market, okay? Or let's not go into a price war, for example. Okay, so that could be what we call a tacit collusion. Okay, I want to talk about a model of tacit collusion, which is called price leadership. But in 2 minutes, I just want to know if you guys have any questions about the first discussion. Guys, any question about the first discussion? No, Gaurav? Okay, awesome. Now, price leadership में एक diagram है ये वाला. which I'm going to skip. It's complicated, but I want to explain the idea of price leadership. So, what is the price leadership model? In a price leadership model, guys, what happens is this, that basically what we say is that there is one dominant firm who's the leader, and then there are many following firms or many followers, which are small firms. So if I'm a small firm and I am in a market where there's a dominant firm, how do I go about it? Well, the idea goes this, that the dominant firm will set the price according to its MC equals MR. Okay, so they will set the price according to its MC equals to MR. Once the price is set, right, the firm, the dominant firm, the leader firm, the price leader firm, the dominant firm will decide the quantity according to that MC equals to MR, and the rest of the firms, follower firms, will set the same price and compete with each other for the remaining market share. Are you all with me? Does that make sense? So the leader set the price according to what is the best price for the leader, which is MC equals to MR. And the rest of the firms simply follow the price that's set by the leader and compete amongst each other. Now, if some firm has a higher cost, some firm has a lower cost, it doesn't matter, because all firms will basically be charging what the leader is charging is charging. And why do you charge a why do you not dare to charge a price different from the leader? Because the leader can come after you, and you may not be able to sustain any price war. Make sense, guys? Does that make sense? They can try to sell more, exactly, Haris, but they can only try to sell more after the leader's quantity is decided. So if the market has 40 units to sell and the leader is selling 30 units, the rest of the 10 units will be will be competed for by the follower firms. Make sense, guys? Today you guys are absolutely quiet, and there's 61 kids, so we have tons and tons of kids, but somehow there's not much of comments coming from you guys. I thought I was the one who was sleepy, but you guys are doing a better job than me. Is that fine, guys? Are we getting it? Now I'm skipping the diagram because diagram has a lot of information that doesn't really matter. This is important. Okay, what is the price? Now, why is this called a tacit model? Because the firm, the dominant firm के साथ कोई मिलता नहीं है. Nobody meets the dominant firm and asks the dominant firm what the price is. They simply wait for the dominant firm to set the price and then they follow that price. Let me call Mohammed Ali. Let me call Sir Raza and ask him about the marks. Don't worry about it. कोई मार्क अगर कोई प्राइस कम करेगा तो मार्केट से आउट नहीं होगा, बल्कि होगा ये कि market leader can come after that firm. So a good example of this could be also Arun, when we started Cedar. Honestly speaking, the way we priced ourselves was like similar to what Lyceum and Nixer and I think also Bayview were charging. So our price was very similar. So we follow what the market leaders at that time were following. So that was our way to go about it. The dominant firm Haris automatically जब price set करेगा तो quantity मिलेगी, right? Very good, Habib. That's a good way to look at it. One is the price setter, the other the price takers. Exactly. That's a good way to look at it. Dominant firm can reduce more, can reduce the price. Dominant firm can only reduce price अगर उसके profitability में reduce price होगी. Yeah, so the dominant firm sets the price and everyone else become a price taker of sorts. And then make the quantity according to what is left behind after the dominant firm's market is done. Make sense? So then the oil industry could be the dominant firm, right? Or the dominant country. And by the way, they have done price war in the past as well. They have competed with, they have, whenever some other country has messed with them, they have gone also for a price war. Exactly. By the way, when I was growing up, there was a price war that happened between Pepsi and Coke as well. I remember that. It took place, uh, I think, in the 80s or 90s, eight, something like that. So I remember that to happen also. Make sense, guys? Okay, I am done now with this discussion, and I am done with the discussion for the day as well because today we just covered this much with the other class. So, and I'm not doing the diagram because we can skip this diagram. This is A, complicated, and B, not needed in our discussion. So tomorrow what we'll do is we'll do monopolistic competition, and then day after tomorrow we'll do this contestable market theory and also what you guys did with Raza, which was alternative aims to profit maximization. Usko bhi I'll quickly touch base. Yes, Mohammad Ali, I'll do that and ask Raza for the marks. Don't worry. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Yes, Haris, differentiation between cartel and tacit. Tacit होता है unsaid, unwritten. Like रमजान में पेप्सी को दोनों प्राइस को कम कर देते हैं बगैर एक दूसरे से डिस्कस किए हुए. You know, they don't discuss it with each other, they just lower the price. उसको बोलते हैं unsaid या unwritten या tacit kind of a collusion. यानी बिल के प्राइस तो गिरा दी लेकिन डिस्कस नहीं किया. अगर फॉर्मल होता है उसमें अगर उन्होंने मिल के मीटिंग करते हैं और कहते हैं कि भैया चलो भाई इस रमजान हमने प्राइस गिरानी है. So that would be what we call a formal leadership. Formal cartel. Make sense?